Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul if he wasn't this YouTube guy. He was just a boxer. And you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever. Knock him out with one punch like that. You're like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's for real. Because nothing about watching him fight screams like he's in over his head. If it wasn't that big YouTube star, you'd be like, that dude's got dynamite.
Make a new name for yourself. Look at what has happened to Michael Perry. You know, one of our big stars here, the king of violence, he titles himself. And you know, he's had such a rise in the sport. Now he's up against, you know, a little dweeb of a thing in a fight this weekend that we're all rooting for him.
Don't aspire to be, you know, one of these like YouTuber fighters.
Right.
Aspire for world titles. Aspire for Olympic.
That's him now. He's super jacked.
He looks like a bodybuilder.
See, that's what he looks like now. He's still jacked. He still looks great. He looks good though.
Whoa.
He looks so old now.
He looks different.
Yeah.
I really want is Conor.
The
I'll put the
ideal
nail
order,
in his casket.
Ideally, if you could have it your way, is it Nate, Tommy, Conor? Is KSI anywhere in that equation
Well,
anymore?
if KSI fights Tommy, he's gonna get knocked out.
Yep.
I guess it's all kind of in the air. Time will.
You expect there may be one and possibly two Paul brothers ringside also, cage side?
I couldn't care about them two dingbats.
So you don't see any future where you box either of those two?
I don't see so, but you know, never say never. You know, I mean, if they're gonna keep competing and whatnot, who knows? But
I'm your father. I'm your daddy. Yeah. Call me Jose Senior.
When we do.
Tell him I'm his daddy. Tell him I'm his daddy.
I really don't care. Like he
Tell
can
him I'm
do
his
whatever
daddy.
he wants, and I'll continue to be the champion.
He said, tell him he's his daddy.
Tell him I
he's
said
not.
I am his daddy.
Ele tá falando que ele é seu pai.
Nunca vai ser.
Sit on my lap.
Nunca vai ser. Tá mais fácil
Sit on my lap.
eu domino.
Yo, you see that?
Oh yeah, he's a
Bro.
I'm not a boxer. Dana White betting against me, he's gonna chicken out of the bet.
Jake Paul made the call-out video. He disrespected Conor McGregor. Here's the mistake that everybody's making about Jake Paul. Because I put this on my Twitter account. I said Jake Paul's going to finish Askren in 30 seconds. And everyone's like, whoa, Askren's a fighter, blah, blah, this crap. I knew Jake Paul would smoke him because Jake Paul is the person I used to be. He's a cocky, arrogant young man who's training his ass off. You think Jake Paul isn't training? They're like, oh, he's just a YouTuber. He's training with Canelo and Ryan Garcia. The guy is training his ass off. He's not running his mouth to people without training. He's getting in there to win.
What do you think about Conor tweeting still at like 3 a.m. like coked out?
He sent shots at me and Ryan talking shit. It's crazy coming from Conor, who literally got out of the USADA pool to do legit steroids. And I was the biggest Conor fan for a long time. In the last couple weeks, ever since he sent that, I've been trying to hate him. I've been trying to be like, fuck you, Conor. But I can't. I love him.
Conor McGregor still called you a donkey.
the guy's a donkey.
But guess what, Conor? I'll beat the fucking out of you. I'm gonna do to Nate what you couldn't, which is knock him the out. And when he's on the canvas and you're drunk, being your alcoholic self, realizing that you put your life away, that money fight will always be there. And when I knock Nate Diaz the out and you realize I'm the biggest fight for you, call me. I'm gonna fight Conor McGregor in 5 fights.
He's gonna be headlining.
No, seriously.
It's gonna happen.
Have you put it out there?
Yeah, we don't think
about
about it. I'm gonna fight McGregor for sure.
Have you been talking to him like you
He's already ducking me.
everything gotta call him?
He's already ducking me. I'm gonna beat McGregor in 5 fights, just exactly like what you said. 5 fights from now. What's up?
Jake Paul versus Conor McGregor. Just let that sink in for a second. Two of the most polarizing, explosive, and unpredictable figures in combat sports possibly stepping into the same ring. Is this the fight that breaks the internet?
Perhaps the most important fight of your career. Give us your thought. He should have killed me when he had the chance, because now I'm back and I'm gonna kill you and your whole team. You and their kids.
Is this the fight that changes combat sports forever? In today's video, we're breaking down the potential matchup between the problem child and the notorious. From their fighting styles to the massive stakes on the line. Trust me, you don't want to miss a second of this deep dive. Let's get started.
Conor's on Twitter all the time. He's on his yacht all the time, but guess where he's not? In the ring fighting me, so he can talk all the he wants, but the notorious MMA is scared of Jake Joseph Paul from Disney Channel, and I put that on my mama.
Now, when you first hear the idea of Jake Paul fighting Conor McGregor, your initial reaction might be disbelief, right? Jake Paul, the YouTube sensation turned professional boxer, taking on one of the most legendary MMA fighters of all time. It sounds like a fantasy matchup, one that would never happen.
And like, there's something about like calling somebody out, which you immediately respect them a little bit more, like willing to put yourself out there for a fight.
He called out Conor McGregor too.
That's what Jake's doing.
Yeah.
That kid is a master troll, dude. He's a master creating hype. Like, dude, if I'm Dana White, I'm praying that this guy can actually.
A Jake Paul Amanda Nunes boxing match.
That's because Dana said, maybe I'll let Amanda Nunes knock him out.
Now I think people are coming around. I say, if this kid was not a YouTuber, if he wasn't some guy that you knew from the time he was like 16 years old on YouTube, and you just saw him box, and you saw him knock out former UFC champions, you saw him beat legitimate boxers, or beat athletes, and beat a bunch of MMA fighters, you'd go, this kid can fight. He knows how to fight. It's not, nothing he's doing looks wrong. He's not like sticking his head straight up in the air and winging punches with his eyes closed. He's fighting well. He looks good. And if he was just an up and coming boxer that was this exciting, like highly promotable, like really good at selling fights.
But here's the thing. In the world of combat sports, especially in today's era, nothing is off the table. And if you've been paying attention to the chatter online, this fight is not just possible. It's a conversation that's gaining serious traction. Let's talk about the why. Why is Jake Paul, of all people, calling out Conor McGregor? Well, first off, Jake Paul is a genius when it comes to marketing.
McGregor, I don't really care to chat about.
You never want to face Conor McGregor?
Well, I do, but that's what I'm saying. He's on Twitter, he's on his yacht, but he's not in the fucking ring winning. And so he could say whatever he wants online, but at the end of the day, he's not his own boss. He answers to Daddy Dana, and he can't get out of his contract. I don't believe he would ever fight.
You know, I think he's like any other young up and coming boxer. It's just everybody dismisses him because he's a YouTuber.
For sure. It's easy to dismiss him, but I was there when he knocked out Tyron, and I was like, man, I'm done with this kid. I never wanted to corner another fight in my life, man. I was like, yo, he just knocked my boy flat out on his face, man. I was heartbroken.
Bro, he has power. It's real power.
Love him or hate him, he knows how to get people talking. From his early days on YouTube to his current status as a professional boxer, Jake has always thrived in the spotlight. And calling out a name as big as McGregor? It's the ultimate power move. But it's not just about clout. Jake Paul genuinely believes he has the skills to take down McGregor. Yes, you heard that right. Jake has been vocal about his belief that he can outbox the Irish superstar. And while that might sound absurd to some, the numbers don't lie.
I'm saying is this: when you knock a champion who's been that dominant and that good for 10 years out in 14 seconds,
13.
there is a question, which is, was that in some ways a fluke?
However, as Rogan points out, the story of McGregor's downfall begins shortly after these peaks.
Which is, Dylan Dennis is a professional fighter. He's a professional fighter. He jumps out, he takes a swing at him. They're screaming, and Dylan's like, fuck you, and he's like, fuck you, and there's a bunch of people get involved, and then a bunch of other people jump in. The whole thing was nuts. But the idea that we should be shocked after him throwing a dolly at a bus because Khabib's on the bus, those Russians don't fucking play like that, man.
Yeah.
This
Did you see the videos afterwards when Dagestan where they're shooting off the Uzis and AK?
Jake's record stands at an impressive 7-1, with notable wins against the likes of Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren, and Anderson Silva. Sure, these aren't prime boxers, but they're seasoned combat athletes, and Jake made a statement with each fight. On the other hand, we have Conor McGregor, the notorious, the man who redefined MMA. McGregor's accomplishments speak for themselves. A 2-division UFC champion, a cultural icon, and one of the most electrifying fighters to ever step into the octagon. But here's the thing. Conor hasn't been as active in recent years. Since his iconic bout against Floyd Mayweather in 2017, McGregor's boxing aspirations seem to take a back seat to his MMA career and business ventures. So, let's dive deeper. What does each fighter bring to the table? And more importantly, what would happen if these two actually faced off?
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The The double champ does what the he wants. It's what I dreamed into reality. Oh, that looks good.
Chandler, you said good match for Conor. Is that ever happening? Or
I don't know if Conor's ever going to fight again.
what's happening with his he just got like the civil suit or whatever, and he's being dropped by all his companies or something.
Yeah. I don't know the real details of that case. I know his version of it and her version of it and what played out in the court. But the reality is that guy's partying, and he's partying real hard. And he talked about it in the court case. He's talking about cocaine. Like that was the whole thing, that we're all doing cocaine. And
how much money could you reasonably walk out of this fight with?
350 million.
$350 million.
Yes.
A lot of fighters, when they've sustained a significant amount of damage over the course of their career, and there's no way to not get that, right? I mean, we've all seen Conor get beat up and knocked out. We've seen Conor's sparring footage. He spars pro boxers. He's sparring elite fighters. You're getting hit in the head a lot. And a lot of fighters, especially towards the end of their career, turn to
Jake Paul's approach to boxing is unique. He's not just a brawler, he's strategic. Jake has been training with top-tier coaches, and his improvement is undeniable. One thing that stands out about Jake is his power. He's got a devastating right hand, and he's shown time and time again that if he lands clean, it's game over. His fight against Tyron Woodley is a perfect example. That knockout was brutal, and it silenced a lot of doubters. But Jake's not just about power. He's also been working on his footwork, his head movement, and his ability to read opponents. Against Anderson Silva, Jake showed that he can hang in there with a technical fighter. Silva may be older, but he's a legend in striking.
I don't know if Conor's ever going to fight again.
What's happening with his the civil suit? He's being dropped by all his companies or something.
Yeah, I don't know the real details of that case, but the reality is that guy's partying, and he's partying real hard.
Dude, some of his interviews, you can tell he is out of it. Have you seen the Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor interview for Roadhouse? And he's just tweaking the whole time.
He's
and
tweaking?
Jake's just like...
It's funny. Shane Gillis has a great bit about Conor McGregor in Roadhouse. He goes, Conor McGregor basically played a cooked out Conor McGregor in Roadhouse.
Jake's win proved he's not just a gimmick. He's a serious competitor. Now, Jake's biggest advantage in this fight would be his size. At 6 feet 1 inch and around 190 pounds, Jake is naturally bigger than Conor. That size difference could play a significant role, especially in terms of reach and power. Conor McGregor's striking is world class. His left hand is legendary. Ask anyone who's faced him. If Conor lands that left, it's lights out. His precision, his timing, and his ability to read opponents are on another level. Remember his fight against Jose Aldo, a 13-second knockout in one of the biggest fights in UFC history. That's the kind of danger Conor brings. But here's the question. How does Conor's skill set translate to boxing? We got a glimpse of that in his fight against Floyd Mayweather. For the first few rounds, Conor looked sharp. He landed some clean shots and he even won a couple of rounds. But as the fight went on, Floyd's experience took over. Conor's stamina became an issue, and he eventually lost via TKO in the 10th round. Against Jake Paul, Conor's speed and technique would be his biggest weapons. He's faster than Jake, and his striking IQ is off the charts. But the big question is, can Conor handle Jake's size and power? That's the X factor. This fight isn't just about the money. Though let's be real, the payday would be astronomical.
Man, I like your music selection. I always like your music selection on the videos you do.
You are well overdue for the World TV.
Yeah, let's do it, my friend.
Yeah, okay.
Let's do it.
We've got it on camera.
Okay.
We had a few fans who wanted to ask.
That's what makes me wonder if Conor could ever make like a successful comeback, as I feel like that level. Yeah.
No,
but-
he could. He certainly could. I don't think you ever forget where you came from. Conor actually brought it up when someone was asking him about USADA.
It almost seemed like he was justifying drug use at some point. It was kind of wild.
Seemed exactly like
he was like, you don't know, like it was, I took myself out of the pool, everything's on board, and it was like very suggestive of this was within the rules and I had to do it. F you if you don't like agree with my decision.
This fight is about legacy. For Jake Paul, a win against Conor McGregor would cement his place as more than just a YouTuber or an entertainer. It would solidify him as a legitimate fighter. For Conor, this fight would be about proving he's still at the top of his game, even in the world of boxing. And let's not forget the psychological warfare. Both Jake and Conor are masters of trash talk. The build-up to this fight would be insane. Press conferences, interviews, social media. It would be a spectacle like no other. What would the fight look like? If this fight happens, it's likely going to be a boxing match. In that scenario, Jake Paul's power and size would be his primary tools. He'd look to close the distance, land heavy shots, and test Conor's durability. Conor, on the other hand, would rely on his speed, footwork, and precision. He'd look to outmaneuver Jake, land clean counters, and wear him down over time. The fight could come down to who imposes their game plan better. If Jake can land early, he has a real chance of shocking the world. But if Conor can avoid the big shots and dictate the pace, it could be a long night for Jake. So who would win? Honestly, it's hard to say. This is one of those matchups where anything could happen. Jake Paul has proven he's a force to be reckoned with, and he's hungry to prove himself against the best. Conor McGregor is a legend with a track record of defying the odds. If this fight happens, it's going to be must-watch TV. But what do you think? Does Jake Paul have what it takes to shock the world? Or is Conor McGregor's experience and skill set too much for the problem child? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content. Until next time, fight fans, stay tuned and keep dreaming big.
I thought it was a very good fight.
Yeah.
And it confirmed two things that I've been saying for a long time. One, Jake Paul is 100% legit. People that think he's not legit, he's conning you. He's conning you with his antics. He's conning you with his online persona and the talking and the marketing. When I saw him knock out Tyron Woodley, I'm like, that is a f***ing dangerous man.
Yeah. Do you think you can still throw down? Like if it had to happen? Like if Jake Paul called you out?
Well,
Could you?
he'd probably f*** me up.
Really?
He's a really good boxer. He's a good boxer.
What if it was kickboxing? He doesn't really know how to kickbox.
When I was a younger man and I had good knees, I could be kickboxing people, but I could barely get through a workout without being in pain now. There's a reality of knees and...
UFC fighter Conor McGregor has been accused of sexually assaulting a woman after an NBA basketball game in Miami earlier this month. A legal letter outlining the allegations was sent to Mr. McGregor and seen by BBC News. It says the alleged assault took place in a bathroom at an arena in Miami. The woman's lawyer said she'd been watching Game 4 of the finals on Friday the 9th of June before the alleged incident happened. She alleged the woman was forced into a men's bathroom by security guards from the NBA and Miami Heat before being violently assaulted by Mr. McGregor. A lawyer representing Mr. McGregor said, "The allegations are false. Mr. McGregor will not be intimidated." Both the City of Miami Police and the Miami Heat, which hosted the NBA Finals game, say that they are conducting investigations.
Hey, I'm sorry to have to ask you this, but I know you probably signed an NDA, but blink twice if that Jake Paul fight was set up.
Blink twice.
I know you probably
I
can't
don't
say
never
nothing.
blink because I got these little bitty eyes. I don't need much air, you know what I mean, to keep them open. A lot of people wonder that, but think about this. If I say Rampage, pay you $2 million, right? That this dude beat you, what you gonna do? You gonna feel disrespected, number one.
Yeah.
Right? That ain't enough money.
Yeah.
But I got paid in the Jake fights. For me to do that, I gotta be willing to walk away for good, and they gotta set me up for a while, at least not for life, but something like 20-something million where I can invest it and fall off in the shade, because that's what you would have to do. Would I do something like that? You would have to know me to know I'm too solid of a guy to even have somebody walk to me and ask me.
Yeah.
What happened to me is what was going to happen to him had he dropped those.
It is, but I see a lot of people talking funny stuff about, like, the leg kick didn't knock him out. What happened? Like, so DC says in the detailed breakdown, I kick Conor's calf, and Conor steps back and his leg kind of goes, and DC says, well, that's the leg kick that, hurt his leg or whatever. But when he went after that leg kick, he kind of reached down to grab the foot and threw an uppercut. And I was switch stance, so I threw a cross from my backhand that clipped him good. And that's when he took the step back and was hurt. I think that's a detail people are missing. That right hand.
Well, you landed a lot of solid shots in that fight, but there's no doubt that leg kick was fucking that right leg up.
For sure.
Let me show y'all proof that Conor McGregor did, in fact, injure the leg that he broke in the third Dustin Poirier fight 3 years ago, just weeks before their bout. Right here, drilling kicks over and over again. It was already taped up before that, and everyone was like, oh, he heard it off of a Dustin Poirier check. Y'all don't know shit about MMA. He even posted about this after the fight.
For me, just as a spectator, as a media guy, as a fan as well, like to see his UFC run end at the Apex with no one there, with no fanfare, with no video package, with no honoring, with no Hall of Fame, with no nothing, put me down. It made me feel very sad. I'm wondering, as someone who looked up to him, how you felt about that.
I don't get why you're not in the Hall of Fame.
I mean,
I agree,
already talked to you about that. That's not important for me because.
But it's important for everyone
Yeah,
around
but like,
you.
but there's guys who retired years and years after you that got put in there,
Yeah,
and you're more legendary than